Amy Romanchuk Marlboro.
Scott Soya,
Scott Soya, Andover.
Heather Summer, Brianna Adepoku. As well.
All right, we'll stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so next we have public comments. Hebert Andover and Marlboro community engagement and attendance at board public meetings is welcomed. The public comments segment of the meeting agenda is set aside so the board may receive public comments. Procedurally, public remarks will be limited to 3 minutes and citizens will be asked to identify themselves. Because the board is limited by the Freedom of Information Act to discussing only matters on the agenda, the board is not permitted to engage in a discussion of the comments presented. Is there anybody in person that would like to make public comment? Seeing none. Anybody online? Nope, I don't have any. Great.
Sorry. I apologize. I sent an email to the board earlier today. We do have an agenda item that needs to be added. Thank you for keeping me honest. If you want to just read the motion.
Yep. Do I have a motion to add agenda item 10.5F, policy 5470, wellness policy to the current agenda under new and unfinished business, 10.5 first read policies?
So moved. Second.
Mike first, Gabe second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Passed unanimous. Wonderful. Awesome.
Oliver, please. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So May, big month. So much happening this month. Honestly, it's hard to pick something to start with. But I'm going to start with our honors breakfast. Tomorrow morning, we're going to today our honors breakfast. And then following the end, good morning, grade 11 and 12. Today our honors breakfast is great. And it's great that the public and that's good. Continue it. After school on Wednesday, we have our senior group of social. We're going to get first and round time. I'm excited for that. Additionally, on Wednesday, we have our awards night and then the following day, we have our general group of distribution. And then Friday is our graduate recreation day. It was last year, and that is continuing. The weather stays good this year. So, I think the first time we've had every day of the week, there's something going on. And then Monday is Memorial Day, so it's next long weekend. We'll to that. And then moving a little bit further into the month, we have our seniors walking on the school. I'm excited to do that. So that's better than our high school. It's crazy how far we've come all this. So, I have friends from kindergarten, so college graduated this year. And then we're leaving WRS next Thursday on the 29th. And then the last thing we talked about with seniors, college, May 1st is college decision day. My community UConn, I'm very excited about that. I know a lot of people who are into sports minute, and they're excited about the college decision. It's just so cool to see people onside you and great, like you're going to college or you're going somewhere else. It's just a really great experience. To be a part of finally going home somewhere. So this is my final board meeting. I'm very sad, but I just have some final words I want to talk to the board and everybody's present. So tonight is very bittersweet for me. Serving on the board these past 2 years has been one of the most wonderful and eye-opening experiences at my time at RHAM. Not only have I learned about policy and decision making that goes on and everything that the board does, in this big and the subcommittees as well, it blows my mind. But it also taught me what it means to be the voice of the people. I'm the voice of my senior class and the upper classmen along with Brianna Adepoku. It's mind-boggling to me how I got here.
time and effort, and it's really, incredible. Last year, I was taught by a previous board representative, Ava, and felt, amazed by her contributions and the contributions of the board. This year, I've had the honor of helping, teach two board members, which we're lucky enough by our chairperson, to add our middle school representative. That is just, it's crazy to me, how well everybody's done, and, being a leader, that it's amazing. And to the students watching, and to, anybody who's online, please keep speaking up. Our voices are powerful regardless, as you think one voice is not powerful enough put together, you really make a big impact. I've been lucky enough to take part in great programs such as Miss Mead's Curriculum Instruction Day, really seeing the foundation of our classrooms, and the instructional framework is, it's eye-opening, but it's really, you see the time and the effort that the teachers and administration puts in, and, it gives you a newfound appreciation for the day in and day out. I'm sad that this chapter of my life is closing, but I'm very proud of everything that both myself and the board and the students have brought, to the table. I would like to thank the board for members who put in the time, put in the effort, both at these meetings and the subcommittees. I see you guys do so much on a daily basis, and it's really incredible. I'd like to thank the administration for their faith in me when they picked me for the position. I'm incredibly grateful for it, and for the community for their support and everything. Thank you for letting me be part of something bigger than just myself. And for my final remark, I'd like everybody to applaud the board for their hard work and the effort they do every day. Thank you.
Yeah, good.
So, Oliver, we appreciate all your words, and we're excited for you. I know that you said this chapter of your life is closing, but you have so many more exciting chapters in front of you. I'm quite envious of the position you're in. I had those many chapters left in front of me. I do want to just give you a small gift as a token of our appreciation on behalf of the board, myself, the administration. It's just a little note and a little some RHAM swag for you to bring to UConn. And then we always want to make sure that we, at the end of the meeting, you take this with you, because you can be proud of your student.
Thank you so much.
So I'll have my report comments. I do have a couple of other things that I just want to highlight. I know we have a lot of people here, and we want to get to the students that are here being recognized this evening for a multitude of reasons. I do want to just make sure that this is our first public meeting since our board budget passed, which I'm super excited about. I'm very excited. I appreciate the board's support of the administration and the staff through the budgeting process. The development of the budget is a lengthy process. It involves so many different people. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a few, but I know that I can't mention all of them. I want to first and foremost point out Eva and all of the work that she does, her business office does, the central office team does, because it is a flurry of activity in the months leading up to the budget being presented to the board and to the public, and they just do so much work. I jokingly said we get to relax now for the next 4 months, but it actually starts back up again in October, which is scary to think about. But again, I'm very excited about the budget passing, and I appreciate everybody who was involved in the process, all the work that they put into it. Again, a couple of things I want to highlight. The week of the 5th to the 9th, we celebrated Staff Appreciation Week. We had a lot of different activities going on. We had a lot of food. I remember last board meeting, we talked about how we've been working on a climate and culture in the district, and a lot of it revolved around food. And there was no exception to that during Staff Appreciation Week. We had lunches, we had staff giveaways, we had coffee carts, we had lots of more food. We did have to delay having the Kona ice truck, which was scheduled for Friday of that week, to come and actually park outside of the middle school and serve chipped ice and smoothies to our staff, but they came today. We canceled it on the day of during the week because the weather was just cruddy, and who wants to eat a cold ice on a day when it's 30 degrees in May? So we didn't do it that week. But again, it was just a small token of the appreciation we have for all of our staff, and we appreciate the work that they do each and every day for the students and the community of RHAM. We are, and Oliver noted this, we are heading into what I would consider to be the busy season of the school year. We have a lot of end of the year trips, a lot of end of the year activities, a lot of the end of the year awards ceremonies. The thing that I try to remember to say at this point in the year, and I say it to people like Oliver and the rest of his senior class, but I want to say it to all of our students, because even as adults, we see this weather turn and we start to get excited and celebrate the summer that's coming up. And we want to have that excitement and we want to have that celebration. But I always want to caution our students to make good decisions when we go into those celebrations, because there are lots of opportunities for dancing and celebrations and parties. But we do want to make sure that our students are all making good decisions and don't make a decision that can have a negative impact on all of those chapters that they have in front of them. So just a word of caution that I always give to people. The last thing that I'll mention before we move on is just in front of all the board members' seats is the latest edition of the Rambler, the high school magazine that is put out by our journalism class. So please take that and enjoy it. It's the last edition for the school year. And that concludes my report of the superintendent, and I can go right into the student program spotlight. So love to see this many people here. Something tells me you're not here for the financial report, so we're going to get to the exciting part of the meeting and why you're all here. We do have two things that we're actually highlighting in today's the student program spotlight. The first one that we're going to do is we are going to recognize the recipients of this year's CABE Student Leadership Awards for both RHAM Middle School and RHAM High School. And we're at this time, I'm going to start off by introducing Dr. Michael Cerruti, the principal of RHAM Middle School, who is going to introduce and say a few things about our middle school Student Leadership Award recipients.
Where's Claire? Where's Claire? So actually I'm gonna have Adeline come too. The CABE Student Leadership Award is given each year to two seventh graders that basically demonstrate outstanding skills in the areas of academics, along with leadership. These are students that are willing to take on challenges, capable of making difficult decisions, have shown concern for others, et cetera, et cetera. This year's recipient is from Gold. One of them is from Gold Team, Claire. Claire Sept is an outstanding student on the seventh grade Gold Team. Her favorite subjects are science and Algebra 1. I applaud her for that. Outside of school, she started playing soccer at the age of 7 on the RHAM rec team, and then the year-round RHAM comp team. Most recently, she played on the middle school 7th and 8th grade girls soccer team. In the winter, she loves to ski with her two sisters, on their family's annual trips to Vermont, Pennsylvania, and Maine. This year, she also participated in the RHAM Ski Club. Claire is an avid reader who enjoys art and painting, walking her dog, and exercising her green thumb. The Gold Team teachers stated that Claire is an inquisitive and proactive learner with a strong positive attitude. She approaches every class with preparation and enthusiasm, eager to explore new concepts and ideas. Claire thrives in team environments and always contributes to a positive atmosphere. Claire is a valued peer and role model in all of her classes. Congratulations, Claire. Adeline Gutierrez is a 7th grade high honors student on the Red Team. The Red Team teachers stated that Adeline has consistently achieved high honors throughout her time at RHAM Middle School, demonstrating her dedication to academic excellence. She cheerfully contributes to every class and always willing to work with others. Adeline's dedication, perseverance, kindness, and passion make her an exceptional student and a valued member of the RHAM community. Beyond the classroom, Adeline is an athlete, musician, and artist. Her hobbies include reading and crocheting stuffed animals, which she particularly enjoys because each new project brings on different obstacles to tackle. She loves playing sports, especially volleyball, tennis, and soccer. This past fall, she was on the middle school soccer team, as well as on the town rec team. In addition to her achievements on the field, Adeline is a talented alto saxophonist who plays in both concert and jazz bands. As a member of the math club, she participated in a number of competitions this year. At the regional meet, Adeline placed 16th out of 105 middle schoolers in the regional math competition. Education is extremely important to Adeline, and her goal is to one day study neuroscience in college. Congratulations.
So we have certificates and letters for both Adeline and Claire that just are from the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education. Sure. The letter just kind of describes the award and what the grant was for that. So we'll have Dr. Rizal come up and introduce our high school recipients now.
Good evening. I'm going to start first with Trevor. So Trevor, would you like to come up and join me? He's very well dressed this evening, showing off.
Nice.
So Trevor Hooker was chosen for the CABE Student Leadership Award this year because his leadership and dedication will leave a lasting impact on our school community. Through his involvement in various activities, including future problem solvers, RHAM band, jazz band, pep band, math team, Model UN, mock trial, varsity boys tennis, and National Honor Society, to just name a few. Trevor has consistently demonstrated an unwavering commitment to excellence. As class treasurer, voice of RHAM, and a member of the school culture committee, the principal's advisory, and the district strategic planning committee, Trevor has taken on leadership roles that require not only hard work, but also the ability to collaborate with others and serve the needs of the community. Trevor has balanced these responsibilities with grace, always showing a deep care for others, a clear understanding of complex issues, and the diplomacy necessary to foster a positive environment. His ability to commit time and energy to each project, honor commitments, and work toward common goals has earned both peers and teachers admiration and respect. So it is with great pride that we present this leadership award to Trevor Hooker. Would parents like to come up and take a picture maybe? What do you want to do at the end?
Yeah, we can do pictures with
Or
everybody.
do everybody at the end? Okay, pictures for the end. All right. And now for Eliza, would you like to come on up? Mom's got the camera going. I should got Trevor. So I'm proud to introduce Eliza Rami, our CAPE Student Leadership Award recipient and a senior whose leadership and dedication will leave a memorable mark on our school community. Throughout her high school career, Eliza has demonstrated a remarkable willingness to take on challenges and responsibilities, whether leading her peers in Model UN, participating in Drama United productions, serving as a committed leader on the varsity Nighthawks ice hockey team, or contributing to the Andover Advisory Committee. Eliza has continuously shown the capability to manage challenging situations and bring people together. In addition to her numerous extracurricular commitments, Eliza has demonstrated exceptional academic achievement, ranking in the top 5 of the senior class. Her intellectual curiosity is evident in her rigorous coursework, having taken 9 advanced placement and 2 early college experience classes. This academic excellence is paired with her role as an after-school tutor, where she dedicates her time and expertise to help fellow students succeed. Beyond her academic and extracurricular commitments, Eliza has a black belt in karate, watch out, which speaks to her discipline and perseverance. For all these reasons and more, we are thrilled to present Eliza Arami with this award. Now, would we like everybody?
Yeah, can we get any of the student recipients to come on up and pose for your family pictures, because your families are going off pictures? Why maybe all of our student recipients come up? Dr. Susan, you guys as well.
Could you get a picture of the board?
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we get board members to come on up, and sorry, guys, you're very popular tonight. No. Students. You guys stay. They start to leave, and not let them leave. Hold on. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Is that yours?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Give that too.
One's coffee, one's water. Pick you up and then take you down.
So we will transition into the second student program spotlight that we're going to discuss tonight. So for our second one, I really had the great pleasure of sitting in on some senior portfolio presentations this year. Ms. RHAM and Ms. Cody's gave me some dates and said, here's where we're going to be doing them. And I was able to sit in on some. And it was really just a great opportunity to hear some student stories about their time in RHAM and some of the ways that they are demonstrating and have acquired the skills and dispositions of a RHAM graduate. And so I said to both Aaron and Jen after this happened, I said, I'd love to have this be highlighted at the board. So first and foremost, I appreciate you guys coming to the board meeting this evening. I know being at a board meeting on a beautiful spring night probably isn't the most exciting place in the world to be, but this is great. We so appreciate you being here. And it is an experience that actually all of our RHAM students go through, is doing the presentation of their portfolio. So at this time, I'm going to invite Jenna Rami and Aaron Cody to come up to the podium a little bit and talk about it. And then we have some student presentations students who are going to present for us.
Hi, my name is Jenna Rami. I'm an English teacher at RHAM High School, and I'm one of the co-organizers of the portfolio. So we had a previous portfolio. The students would just answer questions and submit it, and it seemed pretty meaningless. The kids believed that you couldn't fail your portfolio and did almost nothing. So we revamped it, administration. So we got together and talked about how we could make it meaningful. Using our skills and dispositions of communication, critical thinking, collaboration, motivation, and integrity, we have questions that the students had to answer to show how they've learned these skills at RHAM. We wanted them to stand, next slide. We wanted them to present it in front of people, to take pride in what they've learned at RHAM. So we use those questions to guide them. And they could also talk about their experiences in RHAM and also outside through sports, jobs, any experiences they have. They also get to tell us where they're going afterwards. So for the teachers, I get to see some of the students beyond just the English classroom. And it's absolutely wonderful. Hopefully next year we'll be able to invite the board members. And we're hoping to also invite the middle school teachers so they can see where the kids are going.
Yeah, and just some of the positives that we've gotten from staff feedback. It's really fun for especially the freshman and sophomore teachers to see where these kids end up by senior year. There's so much growth that happens. And we only get them for 47 minutes a day. And to see how they shine outside of just our classrooms is really amazing. We also have them present in really small groups. So it's a more intimate setting. And they really take ownership of their presentations. All of the kids take it really seriously. And they want to do well. And they're also really supportive of one another. I think it's powerful for them to be able to stand up and be proud of all of the accomplishments that they've made throughout their high school experience. So at this time, we'd like to have our student representatives come on up. Well, first, Jason, you want to come on up, Jason? This is Jason Churchill.
So I'm Jason Churchill. This is my portfolio that I did for the portfolio, I guess.
Jason, you can sit over here too.
Okay. So I had to cut down a couple of my things because I talked for a very, very long time. So I'm going to have a shorter presentation slides-wise, but hopefully I can talk for a lot more. But one of the main things that I focused on was critical thinking. A lot of the critical thinking stuff is like hard to pick a topic for or pick like a thing for, I guess. So I decided to go for my house design that I did in my architecture class last year. That's not a great picture, so I decided to actually bring in the design. This is not the finished design. The picture, I do believe the picture is the finished design. That one I had to make a couple adjustments to because I didn't fully think about things like window placement or like door placement. The whole top floor I had to redesign. And like if you look on the model, there's a couple of windows that are covered up by a roof partially. But I feel like, I had to use quite a bit of critical thinking in order to actually put everything where it needed to be. Communication. This is the presentation I did on Audie Murphy. He was the most decorated World War I soldier, or World War II soldier. My apologies. And I was supposed to speak for about 5 minutes. This was in a class this year. This was in my Themes in Literature Communications class with Ms. Gavin and Mr. Condon. This is the only reason that I'm actually able to speak like this with a presentation properly. It's because they like really helped me through it and taught me through it, and the class helped me actually like be confident in my own presenting. It was supposed to be for about 5 minutes. I went for a lot longer. I feel like it's not the best slide, or the best presentation that I had, but I used the better ones for a later one, which I think is the next one. So motivation. For this one, I used two different presentations that I did. The first one, I'm going to start with the one that I did earliest in the school year, or in my school career, which is my Wonder presentation. I did it in Miss Coffey's class, 10th grade. The reason I was very motivated for this presentation because I knew something about it. I was very interested in it. I'm very good at latching on to something that I actually find interesting for a presentation. It helps me present better. And the other one is my Ruby Ridge case presentation. It was supposed to be about an 8-minute presentation about a court case. So I talked for about 15 minutes about not the court case, about the thing that happened before it, because I was really interested in this. And I really liked talking about this. And then I talked for another, I think, 5 to 10 minutes about the actual court case that happened after the incident. You can go on to the next one. My personal accomplishments is in the beginning of the school year, I got my own welding equipment. I helped a close family friend. It's not all of the stuff that I want, but it was a great start, and it helped me get my own welding job, which is also up there. I couldn't get a picture of it because it's like half an hour from here, and I didn't exactly have the time to run down and get a picture in time to like turn this in, I guess. But I did the job almost entirely on my own. All that I did was, the only help that I had was I had my grandpa up there, so I wouldn't like kill myself with it on accident. Or like if I hurt myself, I'd be able to get help instead of having to run down to the house. And I set up my own invoice for the person because it was another close family member that wanted help with it. So and he wanted me to set up my own invoice so I'd have like experience with it. So when I started doing jobs when I was older, I needed to actually do the tax part of it. And so I could have my own records for everything. I set it up by myself and then handed it into him. And then the impact of RHAM itself on my post high school plans, or the YMPI class, has helped a lot. Not yet. It's going to help a lot. It's a pipeline class, which is basically we learn all of the stuff, I guess, all of the safety standards, how to use all the tools properly, and how to work properly in a business setting, I guess, specifically for manufacturing. It's taught by Mr. Hanish, who was also my welding 3 teacher. The first welding teacher that I had wasn't the best, I would say, for it. But Mr. Hanish really taught me, actually taught me how to use the tools properly, how to weld properly, the science behind it, rather than just saying, here, have some metal, stick it together. I also want to put up for teacher that like helped influence me there's a couple would be like Mr. Peluso was always a great teacher. He was in my he helped me through the Nazism, fascism, and communism class, which sounds horrible when you say it out loud, but he's the one that taught me through it, or that taught it. He's a great teacher. He's really, really fun, but also like wants you to get the work done and will get you like have you get the work done. But he's a fun teacher as long as you don't screw around and annoy him. And then I don't know how much long I've been up here for, but what was it? And then Miss Gavin and Mr. Connor, of course, again, helped me actually present like this. I think that's my last slide. Well, yeah, I will gladly answer any questions if I have the time for it at all.
Why don't we have both presentations happen, and then we can do questions
Okay.
at the end? Would that work? You okay with that?
Yeah.
Great, Jason. That was fantastic.
Great. And then up next, we have Emma Bernier.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emma Bernier, and this is my senior portfolio. All right, so for critical thinking, I used an essay from AP Lang last year, and it was all about like whether we would identify ourselves as a transcendentalist or not. And so before the assignment, we were given like a lot of other little assignments, and like there was outside journaling and everything. We didn't know where it was like leading up to. And then we had to use critical thinking to reflect on all of those assignments once we got like the argument assignment to see like where your views all came from, and you had to like dig through your own work. So like I used like, we did outside journaling, and I said that these bugs were annoying me. So I used that to like help take my stance on not identifying myself as a transcendentalist. Yeah. So for communication, I was asked by Dr. Brisgill to be part of the RHAM Strategic Planning Committee last year also as a student voice along with 2 other students. And with it being like a very diverse group, administration, teachers, students, parents, and Board of Ed members, we had to all like work together, communicate properly with like some controversial topics, delicate topics. And I like had to listen to other people's views and be able to respectfully share my own. So that was just a big communication moment, I guess. For motivation, in UConn English this year, I got a 90 on my Habits of Mind essay, which is an essay that we did. And normally other kids would be like, great, 90, like that's awesome, I'm so excited. But since the class like focused a lot on the process of assignments rather than just getting your final grade, we're all given the opportunity to rewrite our essays and like get more credit if we chose to. So it was, most people get a 90 and think like that's fine, but I was motivated to look at the comments that Ms. Clifton left me and like revise it to get full credit on my essay. For collaboration, cheer is probably one of the only like team sports I know that you have to rely on each individual person to perform well with like no substitutes or backups or anything. And like what that means, collaboration is especially important to be safe and to just put on a good routine. Like you're stunting, you have like girls that you're holding in the air, so you have to like put differences aside and work together for everything. And everyone on the mat has to like all hold their own weight for everything to go smoothly. So we had to collaborate a lot on that. Integrity. I am a part, or was, I guess it's kind of over, a part of our Power of Words ceremony, which I've shown honesty, integrity, and empathy while teaching like the underclassmen how their actions affect others and how they can help make a positive impact on others, like in this ceremony. And by volunteering to be a part of this work, like event, I guess, I have to stand by my word. Like I'm telling the sophomores that they have to be nice to people. So I have to be nice to people. Like it's not one-sided, it goes both ways. So I have to enforce, being a good person in my own life. So personal accomplishments, one of my proudest accomplishments would be getting 4th place in my event with my partner at the state DECA conference last year. And DECA is like our business club. It's like just a big like business competition, I guess you could say, if you don't know what it is. And I thought it was just super important to me because it's more of an individual accomplishment as opposed to like a team thing where it's like everyone did it, or like some more basic accomplishments I don't really know. And it was a really competitive event. We got 4th place, so if we got 3rd, we would have gone to nationals. But it was just, that was a big day for me, especially since it was in a financial event, and that's kind of where my path is headed, towards business and finance. So I felt like it was like preparing me for the future with that experience. So my reflections at RHAM, if I were to do anything over again, it would be to continue to be involved. I like to be busy, and there were a lot of great activities that I joined here, like cheer, tennis, National Honor Society, National Business Honor Society, Proud Words, Peer Help Words, Student Council. I was a DECA officer. I am a DECA officer. And I've done like lots of volunteer work, like through teen coaching, youth cheer. Like I've done that all 4 years. So I like to be involved in this community. I love this community. And if I could change anything, I would actually try to get involved sooner, because most things I joined were junior year, so junior and senior year. And I'd also be less stressed, but that's easier said than done for me. My people that had an impact on me, if just to pick 2, I would say Miss Mott, my guidance counselor, and Mr. Landry, the business teacher here. Mr. Landry helped me develop my passion for business and lead me to be successful in his classes at the State DECA conference, and gave me the opportunity to be a leader in the business program here by being a DECA officer. And he played a huge role in my decision to go into business and to get so many acceptances into great business-focused universities. And Miss Mott, my guidance counselor, has been just so amazing the past 4 years. I really don't know what I would have done without her, and answering all my questions and schedule changes and everything. Like, I'm going to miss her in college next year for sure. So RHAM's impact on my post-high school plans. So I made these slides before I actually decided where I was going, but I'll be going to Bryant University in the fall and majoring in business with the knowledge and passion that this RHAM's business program has given me, including like DECA and the business classes offered. I've had like one of the biggest impacts on my post-high school plans. And like with that, I've gotten so many college credits from the business courses, specifically other classes too, but so many from the business course that they'll transfer to Bryant, and then I'll have a head start to complete their 3+1 MBA program to get my MBA in 4 years, but it'll set me up so that it won't be a lot of extra classes because all of these will transfer. And then in general, RHAM has taught me the importance of hard work, leadership, and personal management. RHAM has encouraged me to get involved in so many different extracurriculars and leadership roles, like all while managing my academics and social life. And these skills like that I got from RHAM, I think will definitely help me succeed in college next year. Thanks for listening.
So why don't we have Jason, I'm sorry, I can't run away yet. Jason, Emma, Ms. Cody, and Ms. Rami, why don't you all go up there? And are there anybody that has questions? Anybody?
I think Jason answered when he saw the YMPI. I think he's answered what that was. But Emma, you mentioned the AP Lang course, and I don't know what that covers. What is that class?
Oh, that's an AP English class.
It's an English class.
Language and composition.
Yes, okay. And you're not a transcendentalist.
I guess not. That's what I pulled from my writings.
Wonderful.
No, congratulations.
Yes,
It's amazing.
congratulations.
So, this was great. So I had the pleasure of actually hearing Jason do his original portfolio presentation, so Jason, you actually sparked this idea. So I appreciate you coming back and doing this tonight. I know, Emma, you said you're going to go to Bryant and do business. You mentioned, are you going to work in the welding industry when you graduate?
I'm hoping so. I'm pretty sure that I am.
Nice.
I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully.
Awesome. So the question I would have is about the portfolio presentation process. Like, was it difficult for you guys to go through this? Not the actual presentation, but the actual like putting together the portfolio, because you were drawing, and Jason, I think you mentioned actually something about a class that you took as a 10th grader that you included in your presentation. So when you had to think about all the different examples of the different skills and dispositions, was that a difficult thing to kind of sort through that? Either one?
I don't think it was difficult. I wish I had started like giving myself examples earlier on though, because then it was kind of hard to like look back. But I don't think it was that bad personally.
Like, it wasn't like a hard thing to do when I actually sat down and did it, but because I really, really did not want to put down the assignments in like the portfolio things throughout the years, and I didn't want to actually do the portfolio, it made it a little bit more difficult, but I managed to get it done, and clearly I did it pretty well with the help of their template for it.
So I do have a question. So when does this process start? When do you start putting together this actual?
We are now starting with the freshman class,
Okay.
but because it's a new portfolio, right? Last year was our first official year doing, we did a little pilot year with a small group the year before. But last year was our first year where they were doing their presentations. So now we have a Google Classroom set up so they can start putting work in and links to the work and even make comments on it so they remember 3 years later.
That's great. So they think about this throughout the entire
Start filing
4 years.
away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions? Well, thank you all for coming in and doing
Thank you very much.
And don't feel compelled to stay. As exciting as the financial reports are going to be, take off
Come
some
on, be
parents.
nice to for you.
Thank you so much for being here, everybody. Really appreciate it.
They can't go fast.
We go all policy stuff.
Oh,
So you want to stick around?
so riveting.
I'll teach much more ribbon.
Sorry, so we just pulled the fire alarm?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I will just keep going right along. So I'll just quickly go through some of the items in the consent agenda, and then hopefully we'll get a motion to approve the consent agenda. So there are a number of different meeting minutes that we would need, have been drafted and would need approval. There is also a memo that I wrote to the board. It's a request for an extended leave of absence for a teacher to take after the birth of her child. I would encourage the board to approve this leave request. It is required per the teacher's contract that boards of education that the board approves extended leave of absence, but I'm certainly recommending it. And then finally is the approval of policies after revision or deletion. These are second reads for a handful of policies that have been listed in the agenda. There was some feedback that I received. It was primarily around like formatting issues, what I would call housekeeping issues. Scott, I appreciate your feedback. We did go through and make some of the changes. Specifically in 9342, which is the policy related to time and place of meetings. There were some adjustments to clean up references to regional school board of education. When we get the model policies from Shipman and Goodwin, they sometimes will say if regional do this or if local do this. And we just didn't catch, even though I had looked through it, the policy subcommittee had looked through it and gone through a first reading. It's always good to have many eyes put on it many times. So we did make the fixes there. And then the other thing was in policy number 3561 related to federal procurements, there were some links at the end of the policy which were supposed to bring to actual documents that are legal references, and some of the links are outdated. So what we did is, I don't like having links because of that exact reason, because they could change. So we just simply removed the links. And by having the name of the document and even the year, even if it says 2016, but it gets updated, it's the most updated one is going to be the applicable one. So we made those tweaks and adjustments. I would recommend that those policies be approved as a second read, and then we can put them, make the changes and deletions in the policy book. I can certainly take any questions, but if there's a motion.
All right, do I have the motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Scott, and seconded?
But we'd like
Second
to make
by Drew.
comments. Is that this notion that we have request for extended leave there, which is fine, and I sure will approve it without a problem. But this notion that, oh, the contract says that we must approve it, there's something weird there. What happens if we don't? you know, that's just a very odd thing, and I'm wondering how that language gets into a contract.
Well, so, you want me to respond?
Sure.
Yeah, so what I would say is, what you're describing of somebody's requesting a leave of absence for the circumstances that are being requested, 100%, I'm going to recommend that the board approve it. However, there could be circumstances where it might not be in the best situation of the district for an extended leave of absence to be approved. Don't ask me what those circumstances are, but I would presume that it was built into the language of the contract because of the fact that it's a balancing act, right? We need to make sure that we have staff to adequately support student needs. And so I agree with you. I've never been in a situation in my 15 years of working as a central office administrator where I would have ever said to a board of education, no, I wouldn't recommend that you approve this leave of absence. But it is very typical for extended leaves of absences to have to be approved by boards of education, just because of the fact that, again, the goal of the board is to also look out for the best interest of the district in its entirety.
I think I misread that. The leave must be approved by the Board of Education as more that to get the leave, the board must approve it, rather than the Board of Education must approve it. You know, is how I read the thing in there. And somebody agrees.
Eric, can you mute that, Eric? I think
So I think I just misread that. I was saying that the board, we must approve this.
Yeah.
And it
Or deny.
or yeah, we must approve or deny it, but you know, it read as though this is a
Well,
requirement.
that we didn't have a choice.
Like we didn't have a choice. Yeah.
Yes, okay. That's what I'm getting. Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. You can see the
different
wording,
emphasis, different emphasis.
like,
Yeah.
exactly.
Emphasis was on
And I
the
get
word
it now,
syllable.
absolutely, but it's a little odd.
Gotcha. No, Gotcha.
My former experience with the Board of Ed, had a chairman who told us, went around and said, okay, well, this legally has to be approved. We have to do this, you know, and the board must approve this thing. And it's something uncomfortable to approve. And he went around and pointed at everyone approved, everyone said yes, and then he said no.
Pam?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say, Scott, I read it exactly the same way, and I was concerned how something like that got into a contract saying that we had to approve something. So I read it the same way.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not alone.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Right, so new and unfinished business?
So the first item is adoption of the 25-26 regional school district day budget. So we actually have a current policy, which later on in our agenda, I'm going to recommend that we delete, but we'll get to that later. But one of our current policies, which is policy 3150, requires the board, after the referendum has passed, that the Board of Education then adopt the budget. Now, I don't know why I'm assuming it's charter with the school district. It must be a regional thing. But nonetheless, that is something that is required. We will continue to have to go through this exercise because I'm not, by deleting the policy later in the meeting, it doesn't mean we won't have to continue to do it. I'm just combining this policy into another policy that exists. But there is a recommended motion in our board packet because we are required by policy to adopt the budget that is passed referendum. So.
All right, so do I have a motion to adopt the approved Regional School District 8, 2025-2026 operating and capital budget totaling $32,620,072? Kirsten? Second?
I'll second.
Scott, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Perfect, passes.
So the next item on the agenda, it doesn't really require any action. It's just really something that we wanted to put on the board as a whole, your respective radar. So this was something that actually came to the facility subcommittee meeting when we had our meeting last week. Eric, do you want to just put up the pictures just so the public can have them? But in your packet is an enclosure 10.2, which is simply images or just pictures that I took of the loading dock in its current condition. For the past several years, the board has been prioritizing athletic field upgrades and improvements as channeling both any surplus remaining from previous years, as well as capital improvement planning funds have really funneled to go sure that we can do things like update the track, do the drainage around the competition field. There still does need work. Work still does need to be done to some of our athletic fields. We have a drainage issue with our baseball field and a host of other things that we need to continue to address. But the loading dock has definitely come on our radar as a priority. The recommendation of the administration to the facility subcommittee last week was that we need to prioritize funding this project either through a capital non-recurring fund that we have from surplus money that we have left over, or potentially through CIP if it's not done through that mechanism. But the project in totality is anticipated to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $400,000 for the loading block and the concrete apron leading up to the loading dock. And you could see from the images the loading dock has significant cracking. It's actually starting to deteriorate in some places, where you could see like the sediment from the loading dock is settled at the base of the loading dock. Board members may ask, is this due to the crumbling foundation issues that are impacting some homes in this general area? It is not from that. It's actually just through age and deterioration, salt applications, freezing and thawing, and it's just in need of repair. So again, this is a costly project, but one that we are putting up there on the list of priorities. I could certainly take any questions that board members may have. This was something, again, discussed at the facility subcommittee last week. The committee certainly understands and recognizes and supports this as being a priority for us, but we just wanted to put it on everybody else's radar. Questions? All right. Like I said, oh, sorry.
So are we going to vote on, or are we going to get a contract that we have to then give approval to go out and
it's nothing
process here?
We're not there yet. So okay. I'm anticipating going through the budget process next year. This project will either be included in the CIP budget, or we may end up going through the budgeting process and say, hey, there was surplus left over from this year. Maybe that money would go into our non-recurring account. We could potentially funnel the money that way. So there's no action that needs to be taken by the board at this point. I just wanted to put it on everybody's radar because it is something that we are going to want to make sure that we address through next year's budget process. Any other questions? All right, I can move on to 10.3, which is discussing impossible action regarding meal prices. I'll just note that there is an enclosure 10.3 within your board packet. And at that point, I'll turn it over to Eva and she could give more specifics about it.
Okay, so through the USDA, there is a tool. It's called a paid lunch equity tool, sorry, PLE. So it's paid lunch equity tool. So unfortunately, this year, this tool has not arrived on time, I guess, from the USDA. So the state has provided us guidance to use last year's tool because not much changes from year to year, to be honest with you. But basically, we need to make sure that the lunches that we charge the students cover the meals that we provide the students. So based on going through the exercise of doing the price lunch equity, paid lunch equity, we discovered that we're going to have to adjust the lunch prices. We're not touching breakfast. For some reason, the tool doesn't look at breakfast. It only does lunch. So we're going to adjust 45 cents for a regular lunch, which is just, it's not a premium lunch. And so premium lunches would go up 15 cents. In essence, it's just to make sure that we cover the basis of the cost of the food to ensure that the kids are eating properly and that we're giving them the proper meals. Any questions?
Yeah, so I'm having trouble understanding this. So the USDA has a regulation that says we have to collect a certain amount of money for lunch, is it somehow tied to money we get from them?
Yes.
In what way? How is that?
So when we claim the meals, then they reimburse us some money towards meals. So on a
And-
monthly basis, so every meal that we sell, and it has to be a proper meal, otherwise it's considered a la carte. So it has to have 5 components that every meal has to have.
Sure.
The premium lunch, for some reason, we've always had 2 tiers here, so it's a little bit of a fancier meal, but it still has to have the components of all the meals.
Okay. So, and what's there's a weighted average in this of something?
Yeah, so that's all part of the tool, and that's how we get to getting here.
And so we have to do this each year, even though they didn't it looks like they didn't
Yeah.
complete their part of the bargain.
Correct.
So how can they twist our arm to comply with something they haven't complied with?
I do not know, but we have to follow the rules, and unfortunately, those are the rules laid out to us.
Interesting. Civil disobedience
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to mind,
There's those transcendentalists.
but yeah. And do you have any idea what the difference is between a regular lunch and a premium lunch? I mean, is
So-
it just more food for bigger kids?
No, it's not more food. It's the type of food. So
Oh.
in the past, so it depends on, so there's different stations. So you can get a burger with fries or pizza, a slice of pizza with all the trimmings. You can get a salad. That's all your, like a salad bar. That's all your regular meal. A premium would be something that they call your Coyote Grill. So something that so whether it's the nachos and cheese sauce, the chicken dumplings that come with different vegetables, it's sort of a more affluent kind of a meal than your regular.
There's a little bit more variety.
Yes, maybe that's the better word.
Not quite so big.
And we've had this 2-tier lunch
Since I've been here, since before I was here.
That's interesting.
I think we used to have 3-tier at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It seems a little unfair maybe to people who don't have the means to get the next one up. Okay.
When we have free and reduced price lunches, do they apply to
Yeah.
both tiers?
Mhm.
Okay, so
Oh,
it's not a particular financial hardship to,
Can't overtly identify anyone, so anyone who goes up, and as long as they have the full meal, they're allowed to get the full.
to you.
Yeah.
Whether it's
So
regular.
it's more the student's choice of which they
Right.
prefer. not the pizza
okay.
or
You can't
the
discriminate.
right. Okay,
dumplings.
interesting. Yeah.
All right, so do I have the motion to increase meal prices for lunch as proposed for the start of the 2025-2026 school year?
So moved. I'll second.
All right, Mike first, Gabe second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Abstain? All right, that motion passes.
So the next agenda item is 10.4. It's a personnel report. We do have one resignation to report out. Bhupal Babajabar, business career technical education teacher and department coordinator for RHAM Middle and High School, has resigned effective June 30th, 2025. He has been employed by the district since July of 2023. That concludes my personnel report for this one. The next agenda item is first reads of policies. So I can go through the recommended changes for each one of the policies, and then I could either take them questions one at a time if people have them, or we can just take questions collectively at the end. These are all policies that have been brought to the policy subcommittee. And we also have our wellness policy, which was added as an agenda item. So here is the hard copies for the wellness policy are coming around, the red line versions of the wellness policy. I'll let Eva speak to that.
Has this changed since we saw in the policy committee?
No, it's just, no, it just didn't get added. It was a
Yeah.
Total misstep. Drew caught it. Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it. So the first policy where we are recommending revisions is policy 3330 for its purchasing. So the easiest way for us to address this was just by essentially crossing off the entire existing policy and just basically utilizing the new policy language that's being recommended by Shipman and Goodwin. We are recommending that changes obviously are made to align with the Shipman policy on purchasing. What we are also doing is we are requesting that the board increase from $10,000 currently to $15,000 with a new policy for the threshold for procurement amounts for direct purchases from a vendor with no quotes or bidding to increase from $10,000 to $15,000. We're requesting that also the threshold amount for competitive bidding for competitive quotes is increased from what it currently is at $25,000 to $35,000. And then we're requesting the increase for over $35,000 for competitive bidding. So we're just looking for a higher threshold with regards to the purchasing process. And the reason that we're making this request, and even I talked about this, it just provides the district administration with a slighter degree of flexibility when making purchases or working with contractors. So that is the reason for that request. The policy also does incorporate language from policy 3320, which is purchase orders, because you can see later on in the agenda, later on in the policy first reads, I am recommending that for deletion. Any specific questions about the recommendations for this policy revision?
This is the one you didn't address on my notes, and it's a very minor thing that I think we should really redo the.
Is it the formatting thing?
Well, the outline style.
I think we did.
You did
fix
okay.
that.
That one wasn't mentioned in your response to me.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
We did go through and on the updated one, which hopefully is in front of you, it should have been.
I didn't pass any out, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, you passed them out on that.
passed out the wellness one.
Oh, that's the wellness one. Oh, so I apologize. It's updated online.
Okay.
We updated in the board.
The point was just that, section 1 was A, B, C, D, and section 2 was 1, 2, 3, and something else was 1A, and just try to get that cleaned up. That's
Yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned this to you in my email communication that, if there ever is something like that, even if it was to get adopted by the board, that's a housekeeping issue, so I can go in and clean it up.
Yeah.
But we did make that adjustment.
Okay.
We did. And so if there's an issue with it based off of the change that we made, certainly give us that feedback and we can work on it for the second reading.
How quickly after we approve them, do they end up getting onto the policy site on the board, on the website?
Usually Jess is pretty quick about it.
Days?
Usually within a couple of days. Yeah, like I meet with her after every board meeting, and sometimes I'll say, hey, we need to get those policies updated. And she's like, I've already done that. So it just depends on how busy things are. But we try to be quick. The next policy is 3110, board budget procedures and line item transfers. So this is another policy that was recommended to be updated and aligned with the Shipman and Goodwin model policy. One of the things that we are doing within the context of this policy change is it also combines other policies, 3121, which is approval of the budget, and 3150, adoption of the budget, that one that I just mentioned we have to go through. So if we approve the recommended changes to 3110, it will enable us to delete 3121, approval of the budget, and 3150, because we incorporated those languages from those policy into this one policy. It's just we're streamlining the budget work. We're trying to be more efficient with things. Any questions about that? I've already talked about these other ones. By making the changes for the first two policies, it would enable us to delete 3320, 3121, and 3150. And then finally, the last policy that we're recommending for revision is the one that we added as an agenda item, which is 5470, wellness policy. I'm going to ask Eva to speak a little bit to this one.
So the folks on the policy subcommittee heard my spiel before, but so it's going to be the same. So this is something, again, that the USDA makes us do. It's a wellness policy. It's a good policy to have. In addition to that, we have to do a tri-annual assessment. So this is our tri-annual assessment time. So we were told in February to start working on it. They delayed it until the end of February. We were supposed to follow a model policy. The model policy was not completed until the week before the policy subcommittee. We were able to push through the changes that you see in front of you to have it up and ready so we can have it adopted before June 30th, our deadline. Are there any questions?
Just love bureaucracy.
So again, if there's no questions, these policies will come to the board at the June meeting as a second reading and will be adopted. Then if there's feedback based off of anything like Scott, if you see issues with that formatting on that one, just let me know and we can certainly try to make any necessary revisions. All right. I don't believe. I am happy to turn it over to Ms. Ida for financial.
Okay, so in your enclosure, 10.6A is expenditure and revenue report as of April. Don't forget your name tag. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good luck to you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon.
All right, so the expenditure and revenue report as of April 30th, 2025. There is a projected net favorable position of $669,085. The revenue will be finalized and set in next month's because we are currently awaiting the final, a payment that normally is the final payment for excess cost comes at the end of May. But this year, we're also going to get an adjusted dollar amount that the governor and the legislative passed for this fiscal year. So that was about $65,000 more that's coming in. So we're going to negate some of our loss by that dollar amount. The expenditures, so all department heads are finalizing their spending for this fiscal year. The cutoff is May 23rd to have all POs encumbered. And hopefully everything is paid out on time, no later than June 30th, because otherwise that goes into their next year's budget. The Capital Improvement Fund, the middle school baseball field ADA project is set to start on or about June 16th. The Reserve for General Education Fund, as reported, the BOE Material Containment Center is proposed to start. It was supposed to start last week. Unfortunately, due to the weather, the contractor has been pushed back, so it's supposed to start later this week, but somehow I have a feeling it'll be next week based on the weather. And having stated all of that, are there any questions that the board may have at this time?
So the excess cost payment, is that made directly to RAM or does it go through the towns?
No, there's two different ones. One is excess cost.
And the other is
ECS.
ECS, yeah. And we have a lot of people in our town who are confused with that.
Yeah.
So this is the excess cost for the special ed.
Correct.
And the check comes straight to RAM.
Correct.
Okay.
We do direct deposit nowadays, but yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Wow, fancy.
We're out fancy. Fancy. All right. Are there any other questions? Okay, so hearing none, 10.6B is the food service monthly sales as of April 30th, 2025. So currently the program is reflecting a loss of $53,459.89. At this time last year, it was a loss of $86,261. Are there any questions that the board may have? Okay. So hearing none. 10.6C is the student activity account, and the student activity account is in balance with the bank. Are there any questions that the board may have on that? So hearing none, 10.6D is the short-term investment fund account. As of April 30th, 2025, we currently reinvested dividends of $1,927.87. Does the board have any questions on that? Hearing none, we go on to 10.6E, which is the budget appropriation transfers for March and April. So this is our normal routine that we put into play. So the transfers total $495,442.57 for all the transactions that are included in here. And do we still have any questions?
I asked a question. I got an answer. Somewhere along the way, I'll get it in my head. But
so
figuring out looking at the thing that says credit and there's got a negative next to it, a debit, is trying to figure out which is moving from where to where.
So if it helps, I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible. I thought about this on the way home Friday.
Okay.
And I didn't want to make it too simple, but then I thought this is the only simple way to do it. So your left column, your debit, is your to column because we're dealing with expenditures of budget in an expenditure account. And your right column, your credit column, is your from. So does that help?
To, then from. That's that. That's if I can remember that, then I'm good.
All right. And so the board needs to take some action on. Oh, you have.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We're not-
Okay.
So these are not done all at once. These are dated, right? So, because what I noticed was like we went to unallocated, then we took out personnel unallocated, then we took some out. So as you're dealing with each individual need, the money for a repair or whatever, you're actually doing these journal entries as you go along. Okay, so I got that process. The other thing is there's almost 200,000. There's actually a little over 200,000 here for repairs and unanticipated things that we need. We heard about the loading dock earlier. I mean, it's an old building. I expect we need to do this stuff, but this seems a little bit of a sort of a thousand cuts thing. Do we have any sort of physical, like you go to the doctor and you get a physical, right? Do we do a colonoscopy on this building so we know what's coming?
Yeah, yes.
So
we do our best to do it. So there's a transformer that does the field irrigation out here. It just went.
It just went, right. Is it old?
It's 20 years old.
Okay.
23,
Right.
however old. Yeah, it's old.
So do we have other stuff? I mean, would we expect that the rate of, should we have a going rate of 100,000 a month, say of sort of, we expect things to break?
So I always expect things to break.
Yeah, well, me too. I mean, we
so
all are, a lot of us live in homes,
I was
right?
going to say, Michael, our director of facilities, does a lovely job. He truly does. I'm trying to anticipate things. He just has a wealth of knowledge in his head and is able to recall things that I'm jealous because my brain cells don't work like that anymore. But he has uncanny foresight. And so I kept saying, we have to hold some money aside, Michael, because when you change over to air conditioning, we're going to have the same leaks that we had last year.
Yeah.
The building just opened up and it was leaking. And he literally looked at me and he said, no, it's been cool. The pipes aren't going to be hot. It's not going to leak. I'm like, I still don't believe you. And knock on wood, we haven't had any issues. So this year, where I was panicking, thinking we're going to need money, we didn't need any. But unfortunately, there's stuff that you can look at it 12 times and the fourth time it just blows up on you. And you can't count for that. So yes, is there always some savings because something will come in a little bit less? The position, unfortunately, that we may have had the person for left us early. We couldn't hire someone. So there's always some savings somewhere. But Michael has a good ability of knowing where he's got some savings and a little bit of cushion to help offset some of these. But as the building ages, the dollar amounts.
Yeah, I mean, what I hear sometimes from people in my town, and they're also thinking about their elementary school, I'm sure it's true for Hebron and Andover, is why do we keep needing this stuff? I mean, what's going on? I keep saying the building's old. I mean, it's like your house, when your furnace is 15, 20 years old, you need a new one, right? So, but I'm just trying to get my head around how we can create a story so that it's not, sort of, it looks like we're just reactive. Because obviously there is planning here.
There is.
Right? And there is anticipation, right? So
we did have a report from Michael 3 or 4 months ago.
That's what I was just going to say.
Yeah.
So we actually just did for that exact reason. So the last time we had a comprehensive building evaluation, I think it was 2015 prior to this, was more recent one. And so the facility subcommittee, we knew like, hey, this information, this data that we have from this last comprehensive building report or inspection report is really not as current as we need it to be. So we went out, the facility subcommittee wanted to get this done and we had a comprehensive one done. So we do have that colonoscopy. and had that done. And that's one of the things that is going to drive our capital planning moving forward. With that being said, the transformer is a great example of like you just, or even, and it was, I think it was before your time at the board, but the well, when the well went, it just dried up on us. And then, you know, we drilled down to get a new well and it didn't work. So we had to frack, you know, so those types of things, what I would say, you know, when you have a multi-million-dollar building and grounds operation, it kind of does relate to like, oh, you know, this, you know, outlet in my house just went out on me, so I'm going to have to fix it. So some of those larger ticket items that you've heard us talking about constantly, boilers, chillers, you know, temperature control systems, alarm systems, roof, solar systems, like we will absolutely, we've talked about those things at length, and we're going to continue to talk about those things because those are going to be so significant in cost that we're going to have to bond out. We're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons the story that we have to try to spin, or not even spin, is just tell, is it is better to be proactive than reactive. We can be reactive when I don't even know how much the transformer was, but let's just say when that dollar amount, we can say, okay, we've got some cushion in our current budget. We can address it, even though it's an unanticipated repair. We can't do that with a roof that needs to be completely replaced. We can't do it with boilers. We can't do it with chillers. So we do think long-term big projects. And in the meantime, we also think about what I would consider to be smaller but big ticket items like a loading dock. Because until we brought this loading dock to your attention tonight and the facility subcommittee meeting last week, we anticipated having the loading dock be a part of that bonding project that we were talking about. In fact, it was one of the things that I said is going to be included when we bond out. The problem is that if we don't bond out for a couple of years, we're pushing it too far down the line. And so those types of things are going to continue to evolve and change. And we just have to be flexible and resilient and say, all right, well, we were thinking like the next thing would be the baseball drainage issue in the outfield, but this loading dock has to get fixed because that's a safety issue. Because one thing I didn't even mention is that loading dock actually holds up a major support column of a quarter of a second story of the building. So I think we have done that deep dive. We have a good plan, and we're going to continue to move forward with putting it in.
Yeah. Okay. My concern is the other schools, at least I know in Marlboro, they have the same sort of issues. And I'm sure it's true in Andover.
I think even new schools have issues like that. You put up a new school and you find out that, you know, these things didn't flush well and you need to replace smaller things, but even new schools have that.
Yeah.
I think
I'm just concerned about the budgets each year.
2003 when the school was brand new or whenever it went up.
And I understand that concern, and I don't disagree with having it. It's one of the reasons why even when I was presenting the budget this year, I was talking about 2 years down the line that we anticipate needing to bond. You know, I didn't want that to be something like, hey, we've never talked about it publicly before, but by the way, we need to bond out boilers, chillers, roofs, etc. It's one of the reasons why I very intentionally said, as soon as we finish paying off the debt that we owe on the construction that was done, we need to immediately go out and bond. And we have identified things that we know are going to need to be fixed when we go out to bonding and addressed. And there might be some things that get added to that list in the next year and a half while we are working to put it together. So it is a very healthy conversation to have. And I've talked about that exact concern about, you know, competing demands from the towns versus the district versus Region 8. I've already begun to have that dialogue with the regional superintendents.
We can see the reports now. Last night, the RHAM board discussed colonoscopies.
You don't have to quote me.
And Drew Golfins.
Any other questions?
So we need a motion for this, right, to approve the transfers?
Yeah, so do I have a motion to approve the transfers in the total amount of $495,442.57?
So moved.
Moved by Scott. And a second?
I'll second.
2 seconds. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Right, that passes unanimous.
Thank you very much. So enclosure 10.6F, So this is the CIP and the Reserve for Educational Expenditure Reallocation of Funds. So basically, we have the approved budget. Currently, the taxpayers voted on it, but as was discussed during the budget time frame, we needed to take some money from these two funds to help finish paying for the track so that we didn't re-tax the taxpayer more money. So basically now the board needs to take action to move these dollar amounts from these funds to reallocate them to the track project. So basically you're telling me that it's okay to put this money towards the track project and pay for it.
So do I have a motion to approve the reallocation of $90,404.96 from capital improvement unallocated funds and $968,439.67 from the reserve fund for education expenses to the track replacement project?
So moved, Gabe Marks.
I'll second.
Second by Amy. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Passes.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, so enclosure 10.6G. So this is a budget appropriation transfer for unanticipated expenditures. So normally every year we do a walkthrough with the vendor that does our concrete. And so during this year's walkthrough, a couple more items came up that weren't just concrete related. So we have stairs and railings near the middle school. So if you're looking at the high school behind, you come up the loading dock. Right next door to the loading dock is a back entrance where we let RHAM rent out some preschool space. And so there's a back door that you can go up some stairs. Well, the stairs have settled. So there's a gap between the sidewalk and the stair. And then the railings are now loose. So those have to be replaced. The middle school cafeteria. So if you were looking up the hallway, actually, if you go down this hallway and look up the back, there's a staircase to nowhere, but behind that is the middle school cafeteria entrance, and there's a very long railing, probably a good chunk of this table. And unfortunately, that also has come loose. So that needs to be removed, brought to code, and then there's going to be some handwork, more so fabrication, to bring it to code and to put back in into the concrete. In addition, there's a loading dock door that goes out onto our crumbling loading dock. That is, the door frame is original to the building and it is rotting. The whole frame of the door is rotting, so that needs to be replaced. And in the high school cafeteria, there's a good chunk, probably like this size, of the bottom of the door that somehow compromises the integrity of the door to a storage closet. So in total, all of that comes to $55,990 of unanticipated surprises that happen after winter of heaving and frosting. In addition, in doing some research for a new system, we would like to transition from the current absent management and hiring platform that we utilize to a newer company. And I'm asking to be able to spend $5,000 of this year's funding to be able to pay for the implementation costs so that we can start utilizing it on July 1st instead of having to wait later into the year. We already have the system budgeted. Again, it's a savings from what we currently utilize to go to the new platform. It's just the $5,000 would be an implementation fee. The money is sitting in account, so I don't have to do a transfer there. I'm just asking the board's permission to use money from this year for next year's expenditure. So again, are there any questions at this time?
What are the two platforms?
So we currently utilize Frontline, and we would be switching over to Red Rover. And you guys have Red Rover.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Don't know either, but I know some other ones. So.
So is the 15,000 for the subscription already in the budget?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
the front line?
Yes.
Is it same cost?
It's actually a little bit cheaper.
This little cheaper.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the only addition is this transition.
Correct.
thing. Okay.
Any other questions?
All right, so do I have a motion to approve the transfer as presented in the total amount of $55,990?
So moved. Scott say.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. And then do I have a motion to approve the utilization of funds from fiscal year 24-25 as presented in the total amount of $5,000 for the implementation of a new HR program?
So moved. Gabe Marks.
Do I have a second?
One second.
Second by Amy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Perfect.
Thank you very much. And now I give it back to Bob.
Committee reports.
You want to do facilities?
Yeah, so I'll talk about facilities. As you saw today, we talked about the loading dock that needs repairs. We also talked about the next step in the track, which I believe is just getting the contract signed and begin.
When do they start? So the goal is to start after school lets out, so the week of the 16th.
It's a 3-month project, correct? Or is it 6 to 8 weeks?
It was 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay.
We did not meet the budget stuff.
Policy, I don't think Carrie's here, so I don't think.
So here any of us can do it.
We presented everything.
Yeah, exactly.
We presented everything.
Policy committee really doesn't need
Yeah,
reports.
yeah,
You see it here.
We didn't do it. I don't think Carrie's here to do CABE. I can go into informational items if you'd like. So, it's Oliver talked a lot about the stuff going on that I would mention just for informational items. There is a lot going on in the remaining short period of time that we have school. We start our honors breakfast tomorrow morning at the high school. We have awards, recognition for team award ceremonies coming up in the next couple of weeks for all the different teams, and the families are going to be coming in. It is a busy place. We had junior prom, a week ago, I believe, and junior prom was a week ago. Senior prom is coming up
next Saturday, not this Saturday.
next Saturday, not Memorial Day weekend, next Saturday. We have prom. Oliver mentioned it. I'm super excited again to have the senior walkthrough of the elementary schools. That was fantastic. We had our middle school concert last week. We had our all-town jazz concert the other week. We have our evening at the arts, which it's not too late, board members. If you are interested and able to come, let us know, and we'll make sure that we get a ticket for people.
In touch with Jessica for that?
Yeah, if you touch base with her, she knows she's shared it. So if you've already given it, if you haven't reached out, just
I can't remember if I have or not. So
just shoot her an email.
Yeah,
Make
okay.
sure. Oliver mentioned this as well. It's this coming Friday is the governor a couple years ago stated basically the Friday before Memorial Day is get outside and play day at schools across the state. As RHAM always does, RHAM has taken this to an entirely new level. It is Raptor Recreation Day at the high school. Do you guys call it that at the middle school, Dr. Cerusi, or it's Get Outside and Play Day? So, but it is an undertaking. It is fun. And I think the weather forecast looks good. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Okay. At least it's not Thursday.
At least it's not the.
We don't have a nor'easter challenging us. Dr. Cerusi had a field trip to someplace on Thursday. We are being nimble. It's already been rescheduled for next Wednesday, I believe.
Yes.
So it's with all this fun and exciting activity also comes the hope and prayer for really good weather with everything that we've got going on. But that's a lot of it, but that is certainly not everything. And then obviously the big event coming up, but I'll see you guys before that. We do have one more meeting is graduation on the 13th. Obviously, board members are always invited to graduation. If you're able to make it, you can be up on stage and be a part of that wonderful event. Hopefully, the weather will be agreeable for us this year, but we know that if it's not, we can do it indoors because we did a great job of it last year. The last thing I'll mention is just the school information about suspensions in both the middle school and the high school. The information within this report is inclusive of incidents up through April. So that concludes my report. I think I'm done.
Is there-
and suspensions went down. That's
Yes,
good to
yes,
see.
it's good to see, and knock on fake wood, hopefully it'll trend in that direction.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mike, second, Gabe, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're good.
Thank you, everybody.